So, welcome to the Maurice Academy Design and Craft webinar that deals with project management. Most persons in the creative industry believe that project management is not part of the process, the creative process. But all projects have a beginning and an end and must be managed between those two. So we welcome Shivani Seunarine this morning, who is going to make the connection and the relevance with project management and the creative sector. So we welcome Shivani Seunarine, who has been a facilitator with the Academy for some time, and she has given a wealth of knowledge to the Academy beyond the area of even project management. So we welcome Shivani, who has experience in facility management and also well qualified in the area of project management. At the end of the presentation, you're invited to, of course, ask any question you wish, and that can be done through the chat or directly to the facilitator. So welcome to you all again, and let us all welcome Shivani, our facilitator for this morning's webinar. Shivani?
Thank you very much, Calvin. Thank you, and welcome to everyone. Welcome to all participants. I know we have a number of persons, and persons are still entering the link. But we want to start a little bit because there are so many people waiting. Project management, as a lot of us know, it's such an interesting field. It's very, very dynamic. It is an area that we can learn in any environment, for any environment, and definitely for the creative sector, it is a very, very essential tool. So I just want to share my screen a little bit, and then we will take it forward. Of course, you could ask questions, put it in the chat, anything that you would like to get answered. So let me just share my screen. 1 minute, everyone. And then you'll tell me if you all have seen it. So I'm very happy to really say that a lot of the persons who registered for this webinar were persons, some were in the creative sector, some were not in the creative sector, and it was so very, very broad in sense that we have persons who are doing suites, some persons are doing events, we have persons who are setting up a craft show, we have persons in the chocolate business, so many different areas. And as you all know, the industry, the creative sector is one like that. It's very, very diverse. So I'm hoping that everybody can see my screen. So I'm going to just ask, let me just ask someone if they are seeing my screen, because I just shared it, right? Okay, great. So persons are saying that they are seeing, right? Majority of persons. I see Deandra said she was not seeing it, or she was not hearing. Probably, Deandra, could you check your mic? Right, so we continue. Great. So project management, everyone, a very, very interesting area, an area or a field that can be taken in any environment, whether it is in the creative sector, whether it is in human resource, training and development, construction, IT, so many different areas that PM, project management, can really contribute. But today, for the next couple, I'm going to say for the next couple hours, but for the next hour or so, that's what we want to really drive home. The point of, can project management work for this environment that we are in, the creative sector? And as we said, creative sector, it's a very large area. It deals with planning a carnival fest, a craft show, the talent management, artists, a person making soaps, candles, chocolates, or the handicraft industry, as we said. But it's very diverse. And we want to really see if project management can work for us. And especially as times have changed during COVID, etc., we will take a couple, questions on that and see how PM can help us even in this time and beyond. So we're going to start. So let me just run the presentation. us will know a creative project, because all of us are here discussing projects. And what is a project? Whether it is creative or not, it is a temporary endeavor with a start and an end date. And the main point of this exercise is that we must understand you must have an objective. You must have an objective. So think back of whatever environment that we are in, whether we are making sweets. I know I saw a couple persons here, and I know that's the business that they're in. They make sweets and cakes. I also saw some persons who are in chocolate business, persons making e-cards, greeting cards. So a very, very interesting batch, right? A very interested audience, I should say. And think back, what projects can you come about with? What projects do you do, right? A temporary endeavor with a start and an end date with an objective. So, for example, the setting up of the production of chocolates. The setting up of the production of chocolates is definitely a project. You have a timeline, you know, or everything that you had to do to make the chocolate. You may have had to purchase the cocoa. If you didn't have a cocoa estate, then you have to go through the entire manufacturing process. So the production of chocolates itself is definitely a key area for the use of project management, because it is definitely a project. Setting up for a carnival fete, I saw a lot of people who are doing events. I mean, that shouldn't be the best example at this point, but we want to talk about how those things will change and how we could use, how we could change the business environment that we are working in. Designing a new fashion line, right? I saw some persons here who have registered, and they have lines, they have fashion designs, right? So very interested. And then setting up a craft show. You may want to show your products. And for instance, in Trinity recently, well, before all of this, I saw the chocolate, a number of chocolatiers, they had a nice craft exhibition. On campus, we set up one on NUE. We set up a really nice craft show where we had many persons in the industry came and they showcased their products. So setting up a craft show is definitely a project. You have to think from your area, what will be a project? You may have a business and you think, but is a business a project? But your business may have a series of projects and you want to think project management. Project management, guys, our industry. Now, we keep hearing the word project management over and over and over. And just in a couple of minutes, I keep talking about PM and PM and PM. What exactly is this project management? What we want to do is to have a structure in project management. What is the project? What is the structure I'm really referring to? You must initiate your project. So if you look on my screen, you are seeing that you must initiate. Every project must be initiated. And we'll explain on a couple slides with some examples what is initiation. And then you must plan. That's what you have to do. You must plan your project. Which is, you know, we have to focus so much on planning. Whatever planning that we are on, that we have to do for our projects, we must sit and think, oh, are we planning? Do we have a plan? Or are we just reactive and we go with the thing, right? But that's a different story. And then we have to execute. And execute a project really means you are doing what? You are implementing whatever your project that you have to do. That's what you are doing. You are implementing the project. And you have to monitor and control. Monitor and control your project. Many of us may implement and you wait until the very end and they may say, oh my gosh, my project is a failure because I did not practice proper monitoring. I waited until the very end. I said, oh my, okay, I'm in problems. There's a crisis because we did not monitor properly. So keep thinking back in your example, right? Because this is what we have to keep doing throughout the session. What are the projects that we are running? What are the projects that we are executing? What is our business? And are we executing it properly? Are we implementing it? Are we monitoring? Or, you know, we wait for something to go wrong. Justly, I mean, this is the culture, the Caribbean culture that we are in. We wait for something to go wrong, and then we build crisis management, and then we start to put a plan in place. But if you had a plan, then you could have simply executed the plan. So monitoring and controlling. But I'm saying that, and I think things are changing, right? Things are changing. And then, of course, we have to close off the project, whatever project that we are doing. So I want us to look at it from this point. You are selling sweets. You have a catering business. You are making cakes. The production of the cakes itself will be a project. I mean, it may be continuous into an operational business. But of course, you can project managementize certain aspects of your operations. And you want to do that. You want to have a project management plan for your business, because it is definitely a project, or you have a series of projects. So, for example, I might say, do I have, I'm teaching project management right now. Is this considered a project for me, or is this considered an operation? But I will say that it can be considered a project, because every session or every training that we do, it is a project, because you have a start and you have a cutoff point and you have an objective. So the objective of me teaching PM may not be the same right through, because I may have to customize it for the different groups. And of course, this is different, PM for the creative sector versus PM for the construction industry versus any other training that we do. So keep thinking of it from that aspect, that you have a project. And yes, you might say, but it's continuous, it's everything. I mean, I'm always making cake, or always making tamarind balls, or this is always making a greeting cards. But or you always planning an event, because I know there are a couple of persons who plan events here. You know, the type of events, creative events or production. I'm always doing it. But the actual setup of that particular point, it is considered a project, and you want to look at it from that point. So initiate, you must plan, you must execute, you must monitor and control, and you must close out your project. That's what you must do. So very interesting for me. And I think it's so interesting for all the persons who are in the session. The 6 unique challenges in project management in creative PM. We have these challenges all the time, and you tell me if you agree. The 6 unique challenges in creative project management. I'm going to look at the first point, the 6 unique challenges in creative project management. The first point, the clash between creativity and project management. I want to stop a second and go through that again. The clash between creativity and project management. There is a clash. One will say there's a clash, because some of us, when we started your businesses and your production of, whether, as I said, chocolates or e-cards, greeting cards, or whatever, your craft show, etc., or your fashion, you are not looking at it as a project, because you're only thinking creative, you're creative. And then there are so many different elements that does not, you don't succeed, because you are just thinking about your product. And that's all you're thinking, to make your product very good, which is a key part of your business. But there are many other processes that goes around your business, which is the project aspect. And just something to throw out. When you are looking at it, if you are making soaps, candles, whatever you are making, that is your product. And everything around it will be processes, will be the project management aspect of ensuring that you get a product for success. And you don't get a project that fails. So that's why we keep saying the clash between creativity and project management. You know, the business acumen side of the creative sector, which is something that is very, 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 very necessary. It's very, you need it in our industry. So again, ensure that, you know, we have this thinking that there is a clash, but we want to know that there is a relevance of PM in the industry. And most of us will say lack of historical data and best practices. How do you know that, you know, well, this is the best way to make chocolates, or to make chocolates, to make 100 chocolates, I may need 50 persons. We may not have that data as yet. I mean, we may have that data in construction because we practice PM, and you have all of these organizational process assets, as we will call it, policies and things that we can go back to. But in the creative sector, we don't know, we don't have that data. So it is a challenge in us. Like, for instance, I want to get into a business to make greeting cards. I might say, well, how much persons do I require? There's no data on that. And this is something that needs to be improved also in the project management industry. You need to have a proper data mechanism to have your data, because it's something that I always like to talk about, is converting data into knowledge. And many of us who are in project management will know what I'm speaking about. Creating a knowledge-based environment, a knowledge-based economy. And a knowledge-based economy for us in the creative sector, it's really where we will then know this is the best way we're going to do this, or this is the way that we could improve on making sweets. So many times persons will come, and we're looking at doing a lot of work with some of the crafters, and one of the key things is that we don't package. The packaging needs to be improved. As many of us will see, how do we package? Is it catchy to the eye, etc. So best practices, that's what are we going according to a standard? Do we have international standards? What about this other point? Managing unrealistic client expectations. You may be producing for, and when we say client, we mean your customers, your stakeholders. Who are you producing for? Right? A leather bag. Persons may have a very unrealistic expectation, or they have a different thinking. So again, when we practice project management, we will really make our customers understand these are the objectives of our business. These are the objectives of our product. This is what our product will do. And I mean, there are other points in that scenario. There's something known as design thinking, where it really teaches us how to ensure that you do a product, or make a product rather, that will meet the customer needs, that will meet the end user. Right? So managing unrealistic client expectations. Everybody might say, well, oh my, this bag or this sweet, I don't want it, I don't like it. It's a local, I might get an international product better. Because we have to make people understand this is what we are producing, right? We are producing. So managing unrealistic client expectations. And of course, I'm saying it like that because many of us experience it. We say, okay, we don't want a leather bag from X, but we can go and buy a bag and pay a lot of money, more money for it. So managing unrealistic client expectations. And there's a way to ensure that persons understand our market, because our market is a good market. Our market is a market that can win, that we could win. And another point is developing a creative, friendly environment. So when persons come to your shop, they want to feel, you want to feel that, oh, this wow factor. In events management, I know I've always heard the term wow factor. When you walk in somewhere, okay, yes, wow, I want to be here. So even now you may be thinking, but I don't have a physical space. But what we want to talk about is technologies, the virtual environment for crafters and for the creative sector. There is a market for that. And more, that's how we're going to be. So developing a creative, friendly environment. And your environment does not mean a physical space only. It can be a virtual space. A lovely point is facilitating collaboration. Facilitating collaboration. Are we consider ourselves as collaborators in the industry? And some of us might say, no, what is really collaboration? So we operate a lot in silos, and we want to integrate with some of the other partners in the industry to collaborate, to learn from each other. And I'll talk about that in an upcoming slide. How could we collaborate The term is forming better clusters in the project industry, in the industry for the creative sector. And how do we manage change? Right? Project management, does it teach us how to manage change? And the answer is yes. We want to be able to handle change. And I'm saying that, you know, everybody here will understand what I'm saying, really, because that's what we have to do now. You know, our whole business have changed. Our entire way of operation have changed. I myself, I mean, this homework-based assignment, now we call it, and it has changed many of your operations. But even though you may think that, oh gosh, it's a different environment, it can work. And that's what we want to speak about. How can we continue to work with a project management framework even during this time, even during COVID? Managing change. So everybody, these are the 6 unique challenges in creative project management. Keep in mind that creativity, and there's always this clash between creativity and project management. Lack of historical data and best practices. Managing unrealistic expectations. Developing a creative, a friendly environment. You have a product to produce. You have to ensure that it's a welcoming space, whether it's virtual or non-virtual. Some persons might say, well, it's in their house, in their homes, no problem. That's how we are going even more now. But you create a space that people will want to see. Facilitating collaboration. We want to understand that we alone cannot operate in any business. You need stakeholder management. You need to collaborate with different persons in the industry. And we need to manage change. We need to be able to manage change. So what I wanted to do was to take an example, right? And somebody came to me and we were looking at it from this point. So I'm going to take a greeting card business. It is a market. I've seen a lot of persons, not a lot of persons, but persons are in this industry, the greeting cards business, and quite successful. And when we were looking at it, I said, well, are we really using a project management approach to do it? Are we using a project management approach in greeting cards businesses? So we look and we said, okay, remember what we showed. The first part of a project management cycle is to initiate. You must initiate. Initiate means what? Where did the idea come from? Did we think out our idea or just jump into it because we saw someone else doing it? Did we do a business case for our project? Do we understand all the stakeholders for our business and the influence they may have? And as we keep saying, stakeholder management. Who are your stakeholders? Did you really do a business case? Do you know that if this is a feasible project, or are we just trying a thing, as we say? No problem. Sometimes you try a thing and it just evolves. No problem. So initiation. And keep in mind, whatever project you are on, whatever environment, if it's a sweets, a cake, the craft business, we said culinary, etc., whatever it is, it must be initiated. And how did we do initiation? Did we sit down and plan, all right, well, I said I want to go into the chocolate business, right? Okay, so if I go into the chocolate business, do I understand all the stakeholders? And stakeholders, maybe cocoa development company, cocoa research unit, or all these different stakeholders that may impact on my business. Am I looking to sell or to export to a foreign market? And how I plan to do that? So did I really initiate properly? Did I sit down and think it through? And think it through simply means, did I do a business case? Do I have a 5-year plan? Do I have a 3-year plan? And how long I'm going to make a profit, or am I going to take a loss in the beginning? Do I understand stakeholders? So these are things that must be done during the initiation stage of your planning, or of your business, of your project rather. The second stage is so important again, planning. Do we have measurable outcomes? Do we have measurable outcomes? For example, to produce 100 greeting cards for each season, Christmas cards, Easter, do we have those kind of measurable outcomes? How often is it that we cannot meet the demand and we stop operations because, we didn't plan out the thing properly? Do we know all deliverables? And a deliverable, as a lot of us will know, it's a major milestone, it's an accomplishment. Do we know the scope? What about a scope statement? Do we have a quality checklist? Or is it that we're just making the greeting cards and we're going down the road and we say, all right, well, great. Yeah, this is a good one. I got a sale, etc. But we want to grow into a major business. I mean, that's how major corporations have grown. You start small, no problem, but you can grow. And you grow by having proper plans. So do we have measurable outcomes? For example, to produce, as I said, 100 greeting cards for each season. Do you know how much you're going to produce? Or are you just going to say, well, let me see what is out there? So do you know your deliverables? Do you have a scope? Do you know and a scope statement? What is in scope, etc.? What is your planning? Do we have a quality checklist? And there are so many different things, so many different documents that we have to do in planning for the creative businesses. What about the third phase? Is to execute or to implement your project. How do we produce? Do we think how technology can assist us in this endeavor? What about e-cards? So the same greeting cards that was physical now, persons coming to buy a card, you might have an e-card and you could sell your e-card online. So it's a different, and then not even an e-card. Some persons, you can sell motivational quotes. So the entire thing can change. Your entire business model can change now, because if you practice change management and you understand your stakeholders. So executing. What about a virtual platform that I just said for local singers as another example? What about monitoring? Do we really monitor? Do we have a tracking system, which is your plan versus your actual? Do you know how much you plan to do for each season in making cards and actually what you have done? Because when we discussed this with one of the a crafter, we came about with a totally new model. We said, all right, this is how much we could produce with what we have, and this is actually what we will produce, plan versus your actual. And we see that if it was working, and then we may have had variance, and then you go back and you correct, no problem. It may not be perfect, but I mean, that's the point of project management, to learn. And closing. When you finish a project, do we sit down and do we say, are we compiling a lessons learned database for future projects? Do we practice what I love to refer to as retrospectives? Right? Do we know what went wrong, what went right? Did we learn from it? So we might have learned that, persons did not like this type of greeting card. We could have done it differently. They thought it was too large, or thought it was too small, or the paper was too thick. So closing for us in this example with a greeting card business would have us to do a survey, for the persons that actually purchased the cards. How happy they were with it, were they satisfied? And then if not, we go back again and we improve, because this is the point of us meeting, as I said in the previous slide, meeting our client or our customer expectations, because everybody got expectations, but we want to ensure that they have the correct expectations up front, and then we make sure that we meet it. So closing. So these, everybody, are the stages of this greeting card business or creative. I just took an example for a greeting card because it's something that we worked on recently with one of the persons. Initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, and closing. Very important. And I wanted to speak about clustering projects in the industry. we are trying really, and I know a lot of us are doing it, to move away from silos in the industry. And a silo is, this is just us and us alone. But that's not true. It's not us and us alone. As we've seen right now with COVID, it can't be us and us alone. It's everybody. We're all in this thing together. Making the connections between organizations. So, persons registered, they were doing pottery, and we have a lot of persons doing cocoa, and then we have greeting cards. What about these persons coming together? For an example, now cocoa, you want to, you team up with somebody doing the pottery and you make a certain type of cup and cocoa, and you sell it together on a greeting card, especially now that persons are at home. So persons are looking for home-based products then, for home-based products. So making the connections between organizations, helping to facilitate inter-organizational relationships. And this is what we speak about, building collaboration, a very, very important aspect. How do we build collaboration? Do you know your neighbors? Do you know people who are, when I say neighbors, persons in the industry? Do you know people who are also producing your products or similar products? And how could persons come together? Showcasing innovation to aid cluster development. Right? Innovation, we want to come about with new ideas. And again, definitely we're going to see this happening in the creative sector. We're going to see virtual environments happening, persons selling online, virtual tours, because persons wouldn't physically be able to go somewhere, but you want to keep persons with you. So you showcase innovation, different ideas that persons still see that we are relevant and we are still in business and we want to make money. That's our point in PM for this industry. We want to be able to contribute. I thought this was so relevant. Planning for creative businesses during COVID-19. Planning for creative businesses during COVID-19. And I'll ask it in two ways. Whatever business are we in? Are we continuing with the same business? How are we continuing with the same business concept? Now, there's nothing wrong with that, right? We might say that this is what we do. We make a bag and we are waiting for COVID to be finished so that we could go back and sell at a face-to-face operation. Or we may be making clothes and we are waiting until COVID is finished to go back into the operation. So in the meantime, what do? We have to continue with ensuring our customers understand that we are still here. So if this is what we are doing when you are planning and you are saying, at this point, we will wait, not a problem at all. But we have to ensure that our customers still know that we are there and we will come back again. So things that we have to do is to continuously build customer relationships. So you may have had some customers that would have purchased from you all the time. Some persons were setting up WhatsApp groups, right? If they couldn't deliver stuff at this point, but set up WhatsApp groups to probably share videos, talk about something that you know you're going to do in the future. But it's just ensuring that you keep the communication with your customers going. That's a main thing. So the first aspect, if you are planning for creative businesses during COVID-19, all we are asking, if you are continuing with the same business concept and you're not going to change, you're saying you're going to wait, all we have to do then is you're planning, you're continuously planning for the future, but you are ensuring that your business operations, your customer or your stakeholders, you continue a communication with them. Right? Or at this time during COVID, when you're planning and this is a major aspect now that we have to do, we plan. Are we reinventing our businesses? No problem, that's what we're planning. Project management is about having a plan. How are we reinventing ourselves? Is it that we are going to go into a new way of selling products? A virtual platform, is that the way that we may do it? How are we reinventing ourselves? May involve a new product design. somebody told me their fashion, what they did. Persons wanted stay-at-home pajamas now. So I thought that was so interesting, and persons started to come about with that idea. What about DIY mask? All these different things now. You know that if you are in change management and you're trying to come about with some new concepts, then so you plan. Are we reinventing our business? So two things that you must ask yourself when you are planning, especially during this time: am I keeping my same concept, or am I going to reinvent my business? And reinvent meaning, okay, am I going to sell online, as we said? Am I going to come about with a new concept? Persons now, are staying at home. They may want local wine to drink if they are home. All these different, they have home-based offices now. So you want things to design for a home-based office. So pottery, a lot of persons are doing different types of pottery for home-based offices now. They were telling me. I found it to be so interesting. Are we reinventing our business? It may involve teaming up within different persons in the industry to create a new brand, a new product, a new design. So you have to think about what you do and how you can team up with different persons. And of course, I am here. You can email me and, we can chat about it. So how do we do this? Planning for creative businesses during COVID-19, whatever. So somebody I was talking to yesterday, and there are a lot of events. So they rent spaces for events. No, well, you have no events. So, but then your business crashed then. But no, we could look at different ways to do it. We have virtual spaces now, virtual spaces. They might say, well, people don't want to go and party on an online event, but look at different ways, right? It's a whole different conversation now. So may involve teaming up with different persons in the industry. So sit down, you're thinking out your plans for your business in the creative sector. Are we continuing with the same thing? No problem. What do we do if we are continuing with the same thing? Or are we reinventing our business model? And I wanted to look at this point really. The agile versus iterative planning is a very interesting concept. And of course, as we go further down the road, as in upcoming sessions and upcoming webinars and stuff, we will discuss this a lot more. The agile versus the iterative planning. So if you look on the left, I'm going to just break it down a little bit. Agile planning, it's really planning in chunks or phases. So let me use someone here that I saw who sells sweets, right? A catering business then. So when she's doing it, she will sell it in pieces, right? So I'm going to make 100 sweets, whatever sweets it is, 100 cakes then. And I'm planning everything to make 100 cakes. And then what I do, not even 100 might be too much, a smaller amount, of course. I execute it, I monitor if it's working, and then I close it off. So I plan in chunks or phases. But what it simply means is that the plan, I really have to make 100 cakes, but I am not going to make I'm not planning the whole 100 cakes. I'm planning to make 2 cakes first, then I execute and I make the 2 cakes, then I monitor and say, well, you know what, these 2 cakes really taste good, or people didn't like the chocolate chip, they want something else. Well, let me then do that in another phase. So I break it up into pieces when I'm trying to do the business. I don't plan to do everything one time, and then when you finish, then you implement, which is iterative planning. Iterative planning means you must have the entire plan before implementation. And the entire plan means I must plan to make 100 cakes. And that's a plan. I must have a plan for 100 cakes. And then and only then, when I plan it out, then I will execute it. Whereas agile on the left-hand side is saying, don't plan the whole 100. Plan a little piece first, and then execute it, then monitor it, then close it off. And then you might get, as we go to the second point, better retrospectives. And retrospectives are learning. You might say, okay, when I did these 3 cakes, you know what? That was good, you know. I shouldn't have used that amount of mix, etc., right? And chocolates. I should have used, people didn't like the buttercream or something like that. They wanted something else. So then when I go to make the next 3 cakes, I will change my recipe then. So agile planning, that's a basic concept of it. It means that you are not planning all 100 cakes. You're planning 5, you're making the 5, and you're seeing if those 5 work. If it didn't work, then you revisit your thinking process and you go back again, right? But you know you have to do 100, but you're not doing 100 up front. That's a basic common approach, right? That's the agile mean. I love the agile method in many different projects, whether it's creative, IT, different types of projects, right? I love that concept because it gives you a better understanding to talk about continuous improvement to move on. Because you don't have to plan out everything and then we realize, wait, now by the time I actually go and implement it, this thing is a failure. So agile planning teaches us plan in chunks or phases, I'm calling it. And agile planning will have retrospectives at the end of each project. Iterative planning must have the entire plan before implementation. Only do retrospectives at the end of the project. And, you know, as we stop for questions, etc., I just want to close this particular aspect like this. What can project management do for us? All part of this session, what can it do for us? Using this approach will integrate changes for business success. Because you know what, you will think about planning, you will think about, hey, am I really planning properly? I might also say, if there's a change, so for instance, if with COVID, I wouldn't have had my entire plan for 100 cakes. I may have just planned a little bit. So if government shut me down, not shut me down, but I couldn't do my normal operations, well, it's okay. I didn't spend a lot in that sense. So it integrates changes for business success. And of course, I love the second point. Project management, it is a structured approach that is needed for the creative sector, right? And many of us will understand that we need a structure when we are doing our creative projects, whatever project it is in the industry. I look at it in craft, I looked at it in talent management, I looked at it in all different areas in the creative business. Will surely assist in continuously improving our business operations, right? Because we are practicing the agile method. If we are continuous improvement, which is the plan, do, check, act. You plan something, you do it, you check it, and you act again. And of course, it can make us more productive in our business because why? In the beginning, we know what we want to achieve and we have a plan in place. We don't just start and then we see and then, you know, you're just all over the place. We want to have a structure. We want to have clear objectives. We want to have measurable objectives, as most of us will understand what I'm saying. It must be something measurable. You must say, at this point, I want to make 10 greeting cards for Easter. And why you wanted to make 10 greeting cards? Because you did a feasibility study, you did a business case to know that this is the amount that will sell. And then what? And then you execute it, you monitor that if you really did sell it, and then you do your retrospectives. So definitely, project management is all about setting up a structure for projects, setting up a model. It's a project management model. It's a framework, which is initiate it, plan it, execute it, monitor and control it, and close it off. And whether I am in COVID or beyond COVID, I must plan. I must plan as how do we plan? So a lot of persons in the creative sector may be using this now as an opportunity, you know, to reinvent what you do. And it is such an interesting thing that could happen. I myself am using the technology so much in my environment that is making me form new ways of doing business that I may continue with it. So don't think that, wow, it cannot happen. It definitely could happen and things could happen even better. So I want to stop now for any questions. Anyone? You could put this in the chat. You could talk. You could open your mic, anything you want to do. So I'm going to stop sharing 1 minute. All right. Are there any questions, anyone? Okay, no questions. I'm watching to see. Yeah.
me?
Tanisha, yeah.
Yeah,
Hi, Tanisha.
right. Yeah. It's more like a comment than a question.
Right, thank you.
Right. But right. This is more or less to the start of the presentation, because in my program that I'm pursuing right now, it's basically creatives, and one of the issues I'm seeing is that there's this phobia for letting any management processes or project management processes in, because there's the fear that it would take away from the authenticity of the product. So, like, one of the things we discussed in class was that one of the persons, she was doing like a handcrafted type of product, and somebody had asked us, so eventually if you get like 1,000 orders, how are you going to, navigate? And she couldn't answer, and then somebody else was saying she'd have to mass produce. And the discussion went on to, yeah, but when she do that, that is taken away from the authenticity. And you get a lot of that in the discussion. And so I think certainly there's a different approach to be taken for creatives, where project management and general management of the business, because there's a lack of sensitivity where that is concerned. They need to be more sensitized about the benefits and whatnot. So I think that is a major issue.
Thank you, Tanisha, and point taken. It is very true, and that's the first point is lack of the creativity and project management. And as you correctly said, it's not only PM but the management, or it's a challenge in the industry. But I do believe with training and persons reaching out that it can change. I believe in change management, that it can be, as you all also say, Tanisha. But it is a true point. It is a true point. Thank you. Anybody else? I'm not seeing, just seeing how does one become PMP certified? Right, well, one can become PMP certified by doing the training, and you must have a certain number of years of experience in the field, and you can become PMP certified by doing the training, doing PMP training. We can send you a link to do the program, PMP. What else I'm looking at? Right. I've seen a lot of questions. I think it was what persons are asking questions. I will think because it's clear. I'm hoping so. Okay, in my business, a nail tech, it is a total change right now, doing only one present, right? So Denise, you want to share something with that? So Denise said, it is a major change right now. Yes, definitely in that industry, nails. So what do you do in this case? Because could you go home and actually do person's nails? What about facials? Well, the beauty industry, as you said, is definitely it's on a standstill. So what do you do right now? And this was the example, like one of the spas. What they did with me is that they put you on a WhatsApp chat, and they constantly, and I thought it was so good, they're giving you ideas all the time, how to take care of yourself, what to do. So when they do reopen, I'm not going anywhere else. I will go back to that same spa, because they kept me. They give me information, sending me videos, chatting with you. So definitely that's what you will have to do. And my personal example is that, it win with me. I will go back because they are keeping me in the loop.
Right. And yes, and because of doing nails, it's a contact. Most people not open to doing press-ons right now because of the fact that they are at home and they doing housework. Press-ons doesn't last as long as acrylic or gel. So that's a setback there, where we would have offered at home press-on service. It's kind of limited there as well, because only a few took that offer.
But that was a good idea that you had, though, where you are trying now to create your product for home-based, what persons are working at home. But there is still a market for it. It's probably just a press-on, for lack of a better word, press-on. There's still a market for that. Yeah?
Yeah.
Right, but it's interesting to see that, you know, you're still keeping with your, I'm sure you're still keeping with the clients, you're keeping with your
All right,
clients.
and you know,
Yeah.
you give them home-based tips if they're trying to do their nails at home, if they want to remove acrylics, what they would do, you know, to do safe removals and stuff and not damage themselves.
Great. Any tips for keeping with your plan, keeping yourself from moving away from the plan without executing? So a very good point, a question I should say. Any tips for keeping with your plan, keeping yourself from moving away from the plan? Right, so I like that question. You know, many persons will have a plan and you don't really stick to the plan then. You don't stick to the plan. So to answer that question, I will say, it's persons' personalities too. There are some people who are more heavy on planning and they could own, you must plan and this is it and this is it. But I say, look at your industry too. It may not be that you always have to go so rigid to the planner, but things can change. And you change with the plan, you change with the plan without throwing this thing off. So when we ask the question, how could we stick to the plan? Sometimes you have to analyze if the plan was wrong in the first place too. That's another point to bring forward. Or the environment has changed so much, as we have seen in many examples. It has changed so much that we not got to get a new plan. So a very interesting point. How would you apply the agile concept to a service industry versus a product industry, right, Kimberly? Yeah. So your service industry, an example of your service industry, you say, is like making food, right? And the planning of the business itself, your service, it's a service that you are producing for people, that you are giving people. And you use the agile approach where you will plan that service in small parts. You're not waiting for the entire thing. So every service that you have, whatever service, you may have a particular product that you can actually practice agile project management with. So agile is just looking at a service. I may not do what we call the entire service one rounds. I do what I refer to as MVP, most viable product. So if I could show the customer a particular service that can work, I show it to them, they do it, I give them the service, and then after I continue with adding more things to that service. So again, agile in both service, both product, can use a concept of MVP, most viable product, right? I'm using the word product both in service and product. Most viable product is that, or most viable features, I should say. This service industry, whatever service it is that I'm giving to somebody, I give you 10 features first. 10 features, that's how I plan it, in features. I present it to the client, and then the client say, okay, great, I'm over. Hazel, my business is crochet, so you do crochet, a very, very good concept. I can only do a limited and no two items is the same, right? Because of it's you and you alone, right? So resources. And this point is so relevant because we do not have historical data and best practices to know, all right, so for this business, we could do 10. Should I therefore adapt my business and try to have items made largely or closer to each other and lose the uniqueness in order to attract more clients? To answer that question, I'll have to firstly understand, what do my clients want? Right? Do they want a unique, and some of these businesses do work, Hazel, in terms of, do they want a unique, something unique? Right? So I may want to get a leather bag or one of your pieces with crochet, and I will wait because it is a unique that nobody else got. But I mean, then the cost might reflect in it, because if you are making a little bit, you want to have a cost. So to answer that question, really is design thinking approach. What does the client want? What does the customer want? Will the customer want a unique product, or could I do mass production and I could sell plenty? Right? So you have to understand the environment that you are in, you know, your culture, your background, in terms of people who you're producing this thing for. Right? So that was a nice question. Did I miss out any? I'm not seeing any. Good afternoon, right? Right, so I'm not seeing any more questions. I'm seeing a lot of comments, but no questions. Don't know if I missed any. If anybody would like to get on the mic, no problem. Right, I'm not seeing any. Right, in terms of projects and software, for small companies, which software do you recommend? So look, that question in terms of projects and software, I mean, that's a very large question. I need a little more information. What software do you recommend? Because you have virtual platforms. We have a lot of virtual platforms. So for instance, if I'm doing training and development training of persons, yes, I could use the Zoom platform, but I'm analyzing a lot of different learning management systems that I can use. Definitely, there's also virtual learning. So virtual, you could even call it a virtual campus if it's training and development. If it is, you want to sell a virtual tour, so it's what you want. So you could send me a little email specifically, and we could take that question more, because there are so many. There's not one best way at all. Right, questions? All right, I'm just coming on to see if I missed any. Don't think I missed. All right, crochet. So what are we really looking at, everyone, is a project management approach for planning our businesses. That's what we are trying to do. And Tanisha, you started the conversation really, really nice in terms of many persons believe that if we implement this way, we may be losing the indigenous or our kind of what we do. So there's a change in our thinking, and I am seeing that many persons are welcoming the PM approach because it is going to make our business more successful. And not only that, I think persons are welcoming it because of the change of COVID. Now we have no choice to. So it's just another example. Sometimes we want to implement systems, right? We want to implement a system, a new way of doing something. And I have experienced it a lot of times in my job. You want to implement a new system. And what about change? Persons don't want to come along with the thing. They don't want to be part of it. But sometimes the industry, you have no choice. So for instance, now we have no choice. You have to implement this new system, if whatever system it is, if you want to continue with operations. Somebody got a question? I see somebody's mic open. Right, so if there are no more questions, of course, you can email me. You all know my email, right? You could email Maurice Academy, and I'll get all the questions right there. My phone number, everything. You can get the entire presentation, everything that you may require. So in closing, everyone, project management can work for us. Let us make it work, right? So if you have a business and you want me to give any advice in terms of PM, I'm here, right? No questions? So I wish to say thank you for being part of the presentation. I think it was a really, 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 really interesting, questions that came from the floor. I look forward that if persons come back and, you ask some more questions for us and how we could improve your business, because it's not only about training, but actually the end result of training is supposed to do something for you, the client, which is to improve or to start up some new thing. Or you, especially in this environment now, you may have an idea and you want to know how to go with it. So come to us and we definitely will help. Thanks again, everybody. Until we meet again, all the best for the day and all the best for the afternoon and etc. Until we meet again. Thanks again, everyone.